All right, I'm going to start with an idea that might sound completely backwards at first. If you truly want to change your reality, you have to stop paying so much attention to it. Now, I know what you're thinking. That just sounds like denial, right? But hang with me here, because this is actually about something much smarter, a powerful shift in where you put your energy and focus.
I mean, have you ever noticed this in your own life? You're stressing about the money in your bank account, or you're obsessing over a fight you had with someone, and it feels like the more you stare at the problem, the bigger and more permanent it becomes. You get caught in this feedback loop, and it feels impossible to break free.
You know, our default setting is to fight back. We see something we don't like, and we want to attack it, to wrestle it into submission. But what if that struggle is the very thing keeping the problem alive? The new idea is to do the complete opposite. You withdraw your attention. This isn't about surrender. It's about strategically cutting off the energy supply to the old story, which in turn creates a space for a new one to actually show up.
So, let's talk about the main way we get stuck in that loop. It really boils down to this one sneaky little trap, the trap of importance. Just think for a second about that one thing you want more than anything. The thing you've decided is the key to your happiness. That's where the trouble often begins.
This leads us to a fascinating concept called balancing forces. When you make something too important, you create this intense, energetic pressure. It's kind of like you're screaming out into the universe, my life is terrible without this one thing, and I absolutely need it to be okay. Well, nature doesn't like that kind of imbalance. It tries to neutralize that pressure, and ironically, it often does that by throwing obstacles in your path to force you to let go.
And this quote just nails it. We've all seen this, right? Or maybe we've even been that person. That clingy, desperate energy doesn't attract someone. It does the exact opposite. It repels them. It's because the energy isn't love, it's a deep fear of not having them. Well, it's the exact same principle with our goals. That desperation becomes a repulsive force that pushes away the very thing we want.
Okay, so if putting our goals on a pedestal backfires, how do we break out of this? Well, it all starts with completely reframing what you think your current reality even is.
This is the big mindset shift right here. Everything you see around you, your job, your relationships, your health, it is not the cause of how you feel. It is the effect. It's a lagging indicator, an echo of the thoughts, feelings, and focus you had in the past. Your life today is just the harvest from seeds you were planting weeks, months, or even years ago.
And this is precisely how we trap ourselves. We look in the mirror of our life, we see the echo, the death, the loneliness, whatever it is, and we react to it with frustration, anger, or fear. But that reaction, well, that's you planting the exact same energetic seeds all over again. You're basically placing an order for more of the same, and the universe, being a perfect mirror, just keeps reflecting it back to you.
So, if reacting to reality is the trap, how in the world do we escape it? Well, there's a really beautiful and powerful way to think about this. Let's use a little metaphor to make sense of it.
Just imagine for a moment that you're standing inside this enormous, endless art gallery. And this gallery has an infinite number of rooms, each one decorated with a completely different theme.
Every single possibility for your life exists as a room in this gallery. There's a room of lack, and all the paintings on the wall are of overdue bills and empty wallets. But right next door, there's a room of abundance, and its walls are covered in pictures of joy and financial freedom. There's a room for sickness, a room for vitality, a room for lonely arguments, and a room for deep, loving connection. Here's the kicker. You weren't assigned to a room. You are in your current room because that's where you've been putting your focus. So the old way of doing things is to stand in the room of lack, stare at a painting of debt you hate, and try to furiously paint over it with frustration and anger. It's exhausting and it never works, does it? The new method? It's so much simpler. You don't fight with the art. You just calmly turn your back on it, withdraw your attention, and you start walking towards a different room.
Okay, I know. That sounds fantastic in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you just walk into a new room when the walls of your current room feel so solid and so real? Well, step one is you have to know where you're going. A vague idea like, I want to be happier, isn't a destination.
It's like a foggy hallway in the gallery. You have to create a crystal clear, compelling picture of your new room. What does it look like? What does it smell like? And most importantly, this is the whole goal. You have to generate the feeling of already being there. That feeling is the vibrational key that unlocks the door to the new room.
Now here's where we find the balance, what we can call the Goldilocks spot. You can't just obsess about the future because that breeds desperation. The real magic happens when you can feel genuine gratitude for where you are now, even the parts you don't love, while holding a calm, steady intention for where you're headed. Be thankful for your current apartment for keeping you safe and warm, even as you calmly visualize your dream home. This gratitude neutralizes that desperate, repulsive energy.
But let's be real, what happens when you try to picture this amazing future and it just makes you feel worse? When the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels like a giant, painful chasm. That's a super common roadblock. If that happens, the solution is simple. Adjust your focus. Make the vision smaller, more believable, and more emotionally accessible. So instead of trying to feel what it's like to have a six-figure income, which might feel impossible, focus on the genuine joy you'd feel receiving payment for your very first freelance client. Feel that small win. That's how you build real momentum. That's how you start to believe. So, having that clear vision is absolutely crucial. But, life is life. Stress happens. An unexpected bill shows up. In those moments when the old reality is screaming for your attention, you need some practical, in-the-moment tools to master your inner state. And here's your ultimate weapon, the present moment. Think about it. All that stress, all that worry and importance, it's just a story you're telling yourself about a future that hasn't happened or a past you can't change. It's a mental movie. And that movie literally cannot play if you pull all of your attention into the simple sensory reality of right here, right now. So the next time panic starts to creep in, I want you to try this simple exercise. First, just stop and take 3 slow, deep belly breaths. This sends a physical signal to your nervous system that you are safe. Second, pull yourself out of your head by engaging your senses. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can physically feel, and 3 things you can hear. And finally, close your eyes and just imagine a warm, golden light flowing through your body, melting away any tension. Another fantastic tool is something I call a storm breaker. This is not about toxic positivity or lying to yourself. It's a short, powerful statement that acts like an emergency circuit breaker. Its only job is to stop a negative thought spiral in its tracks and give you a precious moment to reset your focus. And this is a perfect example of one. Notice, this statement doesn't deny that there's a problem. It doesn't say this bad thing isn't happening. Instead, it completely reframes your relationship to the problem. It shifts you out of a state of fear and into a state of trust, suggesting that even this challenge is somehow serving you. It stops the feeling that you are a victim under attack. And that really brings us to the bottom line of this whole thing. It's about making a fundamental shift from being the effect of your circumstances to becoming the cause of your reality. Your real power is in choosing your inner state, regardless of what the outside world is reflecting back to you. When you can learn to generate the feelings of your desired reality from within, the outer world eventually has no choice but to catch up.
Look, this isn't some magic pill. It's a practice. It's about making a conscious choice moment by moment about where you place your focus. So the only question left, the only one that really matters right now, is this. Standing here today, in the great art gallery of your life, which room will you choose to walk into?